Welcome to Mahogany Under with Cece and Dr. Yancey. Today we have Seneca Lassiter. How are you, Seneca?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. And Seneca is going to talk about being a Black male educator in the school system. Seneca, tell the audience about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Williamsburg, Virginia. I currently teach in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Springdale, Arkansas. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Been married 18 years, have two beautiful children. Um, what brought me to Arkansas was the sport of track and field. After I finished my eligibility at the University of Arkansas, I was a professional athlete for 6 years, a Nike athlete, traveled the world, ran in a lot of great places, met some awesome people. But my first love ultimately was teaching and giving back to the youth, serving the youth. And I've been doing that for 15 years now. And it's the best job that I've ever had in my life. I feel blessed to have the opportunity every day to wake up and put a smile on the kid's face and be that difference, be that light in their life. So I'm living a dream.
That's great that you say that and you still are passionate about your job. You haven't lost that spark at all.
You know, it's my calling. I don't think that I can lose the spark because I do believe wholeheartedly that this is what I was born to do. Now, I will admit that these are some trying times, with COVID. And I don't do too well without structure. When we had to call it quits back in March, I was miserable
Oh.
because I didn't have the opportunity to just greet my kids, greet my students, be the person who I've been, for the past, years. So I absolutely love being in the classroom. Yes, it's some challenges, but just seeing the smile on their faces and just the interactions and just knowing that we have kids who are in need and I'm able to serve them, it makes it all worthwhile.
I have a question. Being that we're now doing virtual or um, hybrid learning, do you feel like you can still get that connection with the students?
Well, we have been going face to face since August 24th.
Okay.
So we have not been, well, the students have an option of going all virtual or blended. But as far as myself, I've been there on the ground day one, greeting my kids and, just doing what I love to do. I honestly feel like I hadn't skipped a beat. Yes, there's social distancing and whatnot going on, so we can't do the high fives and, my fist bumps, things that I'm accustomed to doing.
Mhm.
But hey, I'm still there every day with my kids.
That just warmed my heart. I'm sorry. Dr. Yancey, do you have anything to add?
Does, like, being that you have your own kids, was it ever that worry of having to somewhat choose or prioritize? Do I go into the classroom, meet in and greet in the kids versus, protecting my family that's at home? Did you have to struggle with that?
I've been taking all the necessary precautions that I possibly can. I have up my sneeze guards. I built those personally. I put those around my desk. I not only wear a mask, but I wear a face shield. And when I do teach in front of the students, I make sure that I am a good distance from them. So without a doubt, within the back of my mind, yes, the concern is there, but I stay, and I get on those knees like the next man, and I just pray for strength, for protection, for not only myself, but my family. But yes, I mean, it's in the back of my mind, but I know what I'm here to do. So I'm in the classroom. I'm where I want to be, making a difference.
Yeah. And I see that difference whenever you post on Facebook about, how you being at school or you cutting hair. I was just like,
Hmm.
he's another level of an educator. He's not just going to school teaching. He's an educator and he really connects with the kids.
Yes, I mean, I truly look at education as, I mean, regardless of what subject matter that you're teaching, you're there to reach. And so my job, if I was to just teach my subject, then I failed miserably, because those kids need more than that. And I teach sixth grade keyboarding at the moment, so I do realize, yes, my job is important without a doubt, but those kids need a Coach Lassiter more than they need a keyboarding teacher.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
What inspired you to become a teacher?
Well, one by the name of Coach Allen Overton, who was my eighth grade health and PE teacher. Coach Overton, well, let me back up a little bit. Um, I did not have a father growing up in the home. So when I met Coach Overton, he immediately became that father figure to me. He was the first person to tell me that I had potential, that he believed in me. He asked me to come out for his summer track program in the eighth grade. I wasn't doing anything at the time, so I said, sure, I'll come out. And the rest was history. He was always there for me, whether it was providing and helping me out financially when we would go to meets and I didn't have any money for food. He was always there. He was always that rock for me. I know I could go to him and talk to him about anything that I couldn't necessarily talk to my mother about. So when I decided to go to the University of Arkansas, I majored in health and physical education because I wanted to be just like Coach Overton. So he is by far the hugest, the inspiration in my life, Coach Allen Overton.
Wow. Coach Jones, I think, put a great impression on a lot of us students. He got us early. He got us real early.
And,
And
you know, and
go ahead.
I'm sorry. What I was going to say, and Coach Jones too. I mean, I honestly feel like, and I understand this, and I'm not going to get spiritual or anything like that, but I do believe that God put people in your life for a reason, and I believe that Him putting Coach Jones and Coach Overton in my life. I mean, I feel that I had the greatest role models that any child could ask for. So I could never make an excuse for myself and say, well, I didn't grow up with a daddy in the home. I mean, I had Coach Jones and Coach Overton.
Hmm.
And so if I could just be half, half of what they were to me, then I've made it. But obviously I'm trying to do more than half. But those guys, they did it for me. And that's why I got into education, because of what they meant to me. I want to be the same for another child. And actually that has happened. The best athlete that I've ever coached while coaching high school, he's now a health and PE teacher, teaching at the school that's less than a mile up the street from me. And he got into education because
Look
of
at
me.
that.
So,
Look at
so
that.
come full circle.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
I mean, you're making impressions early in life,
Hmm.
with these youngsters. And we talked before we started actually coming online. I mean, before we actually started recording. And go ahead, tell them when you said that you were the only teacher at your school.
Okay. I currently teach in Springdale, Arkansas. And I am currently the only African American male in my school. We do have two African American women. So in the back of my mind, every day I go into it knowing that I got to bring it, because I may be the only African American male that that these students have. And so with that being said, I want to change the stereotypes that they hear at home. Um, I want them to know that, you know what, these African American guys are okay. Not everything they see on TV,
Right.
what they hear on the radio, um, that they can be educators, they can be positive male figures. So I know that that is what I have to do at my school. I know that that is the way that I have to think going into every day. And like I was telling you earlier, I have my days just like the next man.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I can't have those days with the kids
Yeah.
because they need me. So it's definitely, it's not added pressure by any means. It's just that I know that I have to represent, not only for myself.
Yep. Dr. Yancey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just in line with that, you are African American male teacher, of
Hmm.
what is scarce. I mean, you just have to admit that the teaching field is more women dominant. And so, what do you think your presence represents to other young Black men and young boys in the school setting? Because we don't want to put race into everything, but race is in everything.
You're right. I represent, and especially when the kids see me in the hallway. I mean, I'm almost like an anomaly to a certain degree, because they'll come, hey, yo, Coach Lassiter, so they always throw that in there. I represent that positive light, for the kids, for the kids who possibly want to get into teaching one day. And like, you know what, Coach Lassiter can teach. So I know that if he can become a teacher, if he's a teacher, then I can become a teacher. I do feel that there is a huge, huge need for more African American males within the school system, but not just looking at it from a kid's perspective. I mean, looking at it from the administration and the other adults in the building.
Mhm.
I mean, I do think that there are eyes on me, and I want to make sure that I do the right thing because I don't want to put a bad taste in their mouth for the next one that happens to come, behind me.
Yes.
So I try my best to set the bar high. I try my best to do the right thing. I speak to everybody. Everybody knows me as that happy-go-lucky, hey, here's Coach, and I'm going to speak to everybody I see. So that's the presence that I try to have in my building, that if Coach Lassiter's coming down the hallway, you got to speak. Because if you got your head down, put your head up. Hi, good morning. So that's the type of person that I am in my building to adults, as well as the children or anybody that comes in the building. Um, that's who I am.
I know you mentioned earlier that, regardless of the actual subject title that you're teaching, there are fields and areas that the students need or want from you in
Mhm.
order for you to teach them in other areas. And I think that's fundamental for African American students to see you as a well-rounded African American male, not as the keyboard teacher, but
Mhm.
just a well-rounded African American male. So it goes beyond the positivity, but what does it mean to, have a family? What does it mean to show respect? What does it mean to hold your ground? What does it
Mhm.
mean to, be in a world amongst all, Caucasian, women represented type of field, but still hold it down? But most importantly, I think within the school system, the actual African American male being taught your point of view as an African American male, your point of view on teaching, your point of view on your world view. They need to hear that from someone who looks like them. Because no matter who you are, you teach from your worldview, your experiences. And I think that's what's so fundamental to teaching, not just from a specific worldview, but getting that diversity that students get to see. That the first they visualize the diversity, then they hear the diversity.
Seneca, do you mind
Mhm.
letting us know what classes or specific um, educational classes that you had to take in school to start your journey to become an educator?
Okay. Well, my undergrad was in kinesiology, uh, focusing on health and PE. I got my master's in physical education. Um, some of the classes that I've taken, hey, your typical anatomy classes, classes that are geared towards the body, because like I said, I was teaching, I majored in health and physical education. As far as keyboarding, I had to get my endorsements, taking classes online, putting in a lot of hours online, gaining my endorsement to be able to add that on to my license. That's the word I was looking for.
You went to school for a master's in physical education,
Yes.
and because of that, you were able to become a physical education teacher.
I was a physical education teacher. My very first year, I taught physical education, and then the next 5 years, I taught health. I moved to another district and I taught social studies. I've taught a program called AVID, and I'm currently teaching
What's
keyboards.
AVID?
AVID is an acronym for Advancement via Individual Determination. Basically, it's a program that is geared towards getting the kids college ready. Knowing that not every student may want to go to college, but they will have all the tools that they need in order to go to college.
I like that. I like that. Okay.
How and why would you convince other young Black men to join the profession of educator?
Well, I think, what you touched upon earlier, as far as the diversity and having the students see something from another perspective. I mean, I think that is huge. I think it's huge that the kids that come into my classroom or that I see in the hallway, they get excited to see me. Hey, that's Coach Lassiter. If anybody's looking for a job where they can influence, they can inspire a child every single day, this is it. I don't think there's any other job that I could have chosen where I have this much joy on a daily basis. I do feel that we definitely need more African American males in the classroom. I wish we had more, especially in this area. Me moving back to Northwest Arkansas, like I said, I was the only one when I was teaching in North Carolina. We had a few, but we were still the minority by far. I would encourage any African American male that if this is their calling and this is what they want to do, give back, then they need to jump on it. Jump on it, because it's gratifying. We'll see the rewards down the road. We may not see them instantly, but I have those kids that come up to me in the street, Coach Lassiter, you meant this to me, you meant that to me. I thank you for this. I thank you for that. So it's a very rewarding job. So I would encourage any African American male to get in this field, because we need you. We really do.
Yeah.
What do you think about when it comes to convincing maybe a young African American male to get into the field? It's one thing to have the devotion towards the kids, but there got to be some balance with money. And a lot of times you will hear individuals not want to go into the field due to the salary of the field. What would you convince them to say, forego a little salary to do this type of job?
Yeah, I would definitely say money comes and goes. But happiness is the key. You can stay up all those hours chasing those dollars. You can be unhappy, but if you want to be fulfilled and you want to make a difference in somebody's life, because when you're out there chasing the paper, that's self-gratifying. I mean, you're just gonna keep chasing. You're gonna get this promotion. You're gonna get this. You're going after this promotion. But where does it end? See, in the education field, it just keeps going and keep going, because you get a new group every single year, and you have that opportunity to change lives. And so, for me, I never got into teaching for the money.
Right.
I don't chase dollars. I just try to do what's right, and I try to do what's right by other people. And these other people, in this case, are my kids, are my students. So I kind of look at it as, hey, I'm the guy there with the staff. I lead the sheep. So that is my job, not about the paper. I do believe that I'm going to be taken care of. So I don't necessarily worry about the dollars.
That's so beautiful. And, I like to be a paper chaser for teachers. I think teachers should be paid like doctors, where doctors are the head of our health,
Mhm.
I think teachers are the head of the mental stability. And so, who is more profound with growing the brain than a teacher?
Mhm.
You know, who puts more of an influence on a child, more so than even parents? So, teachers spend more time with children than the parents spend with their own children.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, a teacher is so fundamental in a child's life. The pay is not gratifying. Even if you're not a paper chaser, I would truly like to see there be some fundamental change of what we prioritize in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I think teachers should be up there with doctors for
Yeah.
mental stability, for our youth and what they're learning. And so I was on this conference call with the Black Initiative. And one of the things I vouch for is that this direct communication with whoever's leading the country, whether it be Democrats or Republicans, and there truly being a Black initiative, not a minority initiative, not a people of color initiative, but just a Black agenda, specifically for Black people. And I definitely propose that there should be funding for African Americans to go to school, paid funding for them to go to school to be teachers, with paid funding for a specific high paid salary for a minimum 10 years of their starting of their career. So meaning the school gets the initiative to pay this teacher for 10 years, specifically for African Americans. That's what speaking directly to African Americans means. I don't buy this people of color because women fit into people of color, meaning white women too. But that's what I would like. And I think because teachers need to be paid for actually the fundamental touch they have on society.
Mhm.
So you may not be a paper chaser, but there's people out there trying to chase that paper for you guys.
No, what you said is, I mean, that is great. That is a great idea, and hopefully you get it done, so I can get a little more paper. No.
A little payback.
The first thing to get cut up in the system or in the government is usually the schools. And I hate to hear when teachers say, well, I came out of my own pocket because the children needed this or that. And gosh, it just breaks your heart.
Yes, I'm in a fortunate situation where I don't necessarily have to come out of pocket. We do have pretty good budgets for me to purchase, the necessary supplies that I need. So I've been very fortunate in that aspect that I don't have to come out of pocket. But yes, you are absolutely correct. I have heard many stories from my colleagues where they are coming out of their pocket. So absolutely.
Do you find yourself being the educator that you needed when you were young?
Absolutely. Just like me not having a dad around, I try to be everything that I could have possibly imagined as a child for my son. And I do the same thing in the classroom. Like I said, I had two great mentors, Coach Jones and Coach Overton. I try to be like them in a sense, and then some. So absolutely, without a doubt, I am trying to be that teacher that I would have liked to have had when I was in the classroom. Absolutely.
And you are very aware of where you are in this whole universe. And yeah. Whew.
Definitely understand that, and I understand where I'm teaching that too.
All right. I wanted to talk about you don't cut hair at the school that you're at now, but I've seen pictures of you cutting students' hair. And what made you start that?
What made me start cutting hair? Rest in peace to my mother, Lillian Graves. She used to cut our hair when we were younger, and let's just say she did not have good skills. I should say she would go straight from the back to the front. Didn't care how the grain was going. And so, when you get at that age to where haircuts start meaning something, people start taking notice of it. So what I did was I started raking leaves. and I started saving up my money, and I purchased my first pair of clippers. And at the time, I had a high top fade, and so I just used to cut. They call it a bowl cut. I used to go straight line, straight around, and then I started to dabble with some blending. Then I started cutting my brother's hair. I started cutting everybody's hair in the neighborhood, and I just kind of honed my skills that way. And I've been cutting hair since I was 12 years old. When I see a need, especially, when there's a kid who comes into, my class or comes into the building with the hoodie on, knowing that we can't have hoods on, but maybe their cousin or their uncle kind of gashed them. But that's what really started, was me helping other kids out who had messed up haircuts or who actually needed haircuts. I saw a need, and I filled that void. And one thing about me cutting hair, I've never, ever charged for a haircut a day in my life, because I do believe that it is a God-given talent, and it is a way for me to, serve him and also serve my students. So I've been cutting since I was 12. I saw the need, hey, got permission from the parent or guardian, principals okayed it. And what I do is, or what I've done in the past, not necessarily now because of COVID, but what I've done is during my planning periods, I would have what I call a cut line. So the kids would just sign their names. So I use my planning period to actually cut kids' hair. And I've been doing that forever and a day before COVID hit. Yeah. So I love doing it because, the confidence that a child gets after he has a fresh cut. I mean, because they'll come in there, all look, sad looking because maybe they've been picked on the bus. And then when I finish cutting the hair, they look in the mirror, they feel like, oh my God, they can't believe it. Yeah. I love that. I love it. It gives me joy.
You did that.
I did that.
You did that.
So that's why I cut.
I love, I would love for you to go back and cut, because the fact that you saw the need, nobody asked you, and then you changed the student life just from a haircut. I know now you're like, man, I need to cut some hair. They need a haircut. They need a haircut. But
I know. And I so wish I could. So wish I could. One kid in particular in my advisory class, he came the other day, with the haircut. He was, you could tell he was kind of embarrassed about his haircut. And I didn't say anything, but in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I so wish I could just fix this kid's hair for him, because he would just feel more confident walking down the hallway. Because, you could tell when he left the room, he was about to put his hood up, but then he thought about it. No, I can't wear a hood. So you just see it on their face.
Yeah.
The same way he left out, it's like the complete opposite of when he leave out of my chair.
Yeah.
Cut. It's all smiles.
Yep. Do you have anything to add, Dr. Yancey?
No, I think it's just that added touch that an African American teacher can do that no other teacher can supply.
Seneca. If you had one thing to tell the parents, or one thing to tell the students, what would you tell them that could help in the education system?
In the education system? Focus. Pay attention. It's not who's the class clown. Get your work done. We're in a time we're in unprecedented times. It's so easy to get excited being at home, especially if you're virtual. Don't get caught up into it. Set your goals high. Aim high. You can do it if you put your mind to it. You can be an A student. You can be that B student. But it's going to take work. It's not going to be easy. Like Coach Jones would always say, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that you can be successful regardless of what anybody tells you, what you've been told in the past. It could be from your parents, could be from people in your family. It does not matter. You're special. You have a plan. You've been destined for greatness. You just hadn't figured it out yet. But if you continue to focus, strive to do right, things are going to work out. And always keep a positive attitude. Yes, things are going to come your way. Life is going to happen. But just know that too shall pass, and just carry on. Those are some of the things that I tell my students on a regular basis. I try to feed them with nothing but positivity. I tell them when they come into my house, and that's what I call my classroom because it's my home away from home. So I said, you can't bring that into my house. I don't give that off. So therefore, I don't receive that in here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the mindset or the mind frame that I have going into, every day. I always tell my kids, hey, at the end of class, please hug your parent or guardian, tell them that you love them. You're special. You're here for a reason. Like Coach was saying, you woke up this morning. So you have work to do. You're not done yet. So those are some of the things that I just live by. And because of that, I'm on cloud nine the majority of my days, to be honest with you. Because I feed myself that too. Not only am I feed, because I'm hearing myself tell the kids that.
Yep.
So therefore, hey, I put it out there. It comes back to me.
That's right. That's what karma is. A good karma.
Good karma.
hmm
What keeps you up at night?
You know, to be honest with you, in the space that I'm in right now, nothing really keeps me up at night because I lean heavily upon the rock, and I do believe that things happen for a reason. There are lessons to be learned in whatever that I'm going through. So if something is starting to bother me, I have to tell myself what I just said. This too shall pass. Everything is going to be okay. And there's a lesson to be learned. I may not understand it right now in this moment, but I'm going to figure it out. And because of that, I'm going to be better from it. So there's really nothing that keeps me up, but maybe something that could possibly keep me up is, my family, because that is what is nearest and dearest to my heart. But currently, nothing keeps me up at night.
That's beautiful.
I like that. Anything that you want to add before we close up, Dr. Yancey?
No, I think you're great. I'm just going to have just acknowledge and really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank
Keep
you.
up the work. Tap those kids when they're young. So I think talk a lot about what it means to be a teacher because you can groom them when they're young to be just exactly like you, doing what you do. Not about the paper, but about changing lives.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Seneca, and I appreciate you being here.
Pleasure, Dr. Yancey. Nice meeting you as well. Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. In the meantime, I ask you guys to please be the change that you desire.